Hello, hello. The name is Regis Kilbin, and the game is Hearthstone. And today I'm going to be streaming some gameplay of my TGT Budget Mage deck. This is a deck I have written a guide for about a month or so ago. I've had a lot of views and questions on how it's played, and some specific requests to see this deck in action. So we're going to go ahead and take the TGT Budget Mage for a spin. I should actually show the deck list before we get started, just real quick as a refresher. You can see all the details on this deck list in another video, which will be linked in the description, but here it is real quick. It's a pretty standard Mech Mage list, but with a very strict budget restriction, limiting it to 600 dust, which means we have a lot of free cards that you otherwise wouldn't see, and a little bit of a bias towards face damage with charge cards like Wolf Rider, Reckless Rocketeer, and even Nightblade. So it's got some unusual things thrown in, but still at its core, it is a Mech Mage deck. So now that you've seen that in action, let's go ahead and take this bad boy for a spin. Now do keep in mind, even in casual mode, you do play opponents who are at a similar MMR than you, and I've been playing Hearthstone for a very long time, and I've certainly hit some high ranks, so this budget deck might be going up against some real heavy-hitting style decks that crush us from time to time. But we should still be able to learn a little bit about how it's played. So, right off the bat, first thing first, these cards all suck on our mulligan. We want minions, primarily. We want mechs, we want one-drops, and we want mech warpers. Mech warpers can allow us to do crazy things, and one-drops just get us off to a good start. These frost bolts won't do any good. If it's a dragon priest, we're worried about 2/4s. 3s and 4s are way too slow, and they're not mechs, so they don't synergize this deck at all. So we're going to toss everything back. Okay, so this is the last card we want to see, literally, because it's a highest mana card cost in the deck. But the rest of the stuff we can work with a little bit. We've got a turn 1 clockwork. If we have to, we can coin out the spider tank on turn 2, so this is not a totally dead hand, and a nice follow-up with a Tinkertown on turn 3 even. This is a pretty solid curve here. This boy's going to be sitting a long, long time, but otherwise this isn't too bad. So what we're expecting from him, if he's a Dragon Priest, is a Worm Rest Agent, which will be a nightmare for us. It's going to cause a lot of problems, but this is casual, so who knows what we're going to see. And of course, we're playing a extremely limited budget deck ourselves, so he might be surprised by some of our cards as well. I'm gonna guess this is a Hero Power Pass turn. He's considering a Holy Smite? Hero Power Pass, what did I say? Okay, so we could play the Cogmaster. It's good to get out early, but then we float a mana because we don't have anything else to play with our remaining mana. Of course, Cogmaster coin Frostbolt's an option, but that's a terrible play. We want to save our Frostbolt. So to me, the obvious option here is actually coin Tinkertown. We were able to stick that mech on the board, which means we get the guaranteed Battlecry upgrade here to make it a 4/4 and get our spare part. We can still play Spider Town on curve next turn. That is a wonderful Frostbolt target, since it has 3 health, and that also allows us to drop our Cogmaster and do 6 damage to the face. So this is a great turn. We're in very, very good position here. We have some turn 4 options: Spider Tank, Armor Plating. Okay. It's not the worst thing that's ever happened. He spent 4 mana to deal with 2 manas of cards, which is not great for him. He did get a free spare part out of it, but this deck is not really built around spare parts like a traditional high-end Mech Mage, which has a Archmage Antonitis waiting at the end. So the spare parts are really just a bonus to us. Now here we're going to go ahead and play on curve. Dragonlean Mechanic might be the worst card in this deck, since we are meeting budgetary needs with it, but it still fits the curve, and Helps us load the board back up. Okay, so he had a terrible Harrison Jones turn. Okay, so we want to... We have 8 damage in hand, plus 3 in... Or 8 damage on board, 3 in hand. It's 11 damage. We can ping him to 7. It doesn't accomplish anything. I think we want to clear Harrison. And we're going to use our Wolf Rider to do that with a ping. And then we have a great follow-up charge minion next turn, because we'll take him down to 10, even if he heals up to 12, and somehow clears our board. We can still push for a lot of damage, but we don't want this Harrison to get strong trades, so... Then again, 7, 9, 11, 12... No, I like this play. With Mech Mage, you can't always go face. You have to take care of the board. If you had something like a Holy Nova or was able to buff that Harrison, it's just a nightmare to leave minions on the board against a priest. So even though this deck aligns kind of as a face deck, ooh, see that board clear is not fun. Good news is we can leave this alive now, and he just can't heal. So yeah, he can clear this for free, but he's going to be at 5 health. Now that might allow him to trade. Let's go ahead and load up the board again. He just used a board clear. So we have a pretty good feeling he doesn't have a second one. We're able to load the board back up, so I like this play. Save our damage to surprise him there at the end. If we draw something like a fireball or maybe even another frostball, we're in good shape. Wow, he actually had the second board clear. Oh, and the heal. We're in trouble. He's back up to 15. And we draw a very flat card. It's bad news, Bears. Doesn't do me any good to play the Reckless to ping him for 5. It's, you know, only a 3 health gain because he'll just heal back up. We have to save this for some surprise stuff at the end. We're basically being exposed to what Mech Mage is bad at right now, which is that if they have big board clears like that, and you happen to have 2 in a row, that Akanai Soul Priest plus Circle of Healing board clear, if you can't stick a minion on the board and you draw dead, you have so much trouble restoring the board back in your favor. So you're just grasping at straws. We drew 2 straight 1-drops. We didn't get any meat. So we have 11 damage in hand, plus 1 from the Clockwork. Takes him to 3.
What to do?
Let's see if we can't bait him into not clearing this. If we draw a mech, we still have some ways out of this game. It just depends on how safe he feels at 13 health. If we convince him he's safe... No, he's not convinced. See, we're in trouble now. This game's over. It's really, really hard to recover against the priest who just keeps piling on health. He handled our initial swarm, and what more can we do? Now we have to just go all in since we drew more damage. He can heal up to 6 potentially, which means we have lethal. He might still be able to. If he's got another Light of the Naru, we're in trouble. Or oh, we might have just snuck out a win that we did not deserve. But that is why you put these cards in your deck. Yeah, we win. Well played, folks. This is why we have this face damage. Because they do not expect you to just keep throwing stuff at them. So it looked like we were going to lose after those 2 insane board clears, but we made a nice little comeback instead. Stuck around just long enough to eke out the win. I don't know if it's well deserved, but that's the kind of stuff Mage can do. So that was a pretty good example game, I have to say. Showcased a lot of what this deck is about. Okay, so we're playing another Mage. A couple options here. We might have Freeze Mage, Tempo Mage, Grinder Mage, Fatigue Mage, who knows. Alright, so looking at our mulligan here, Cogmaster is fantastic to have. It's great to put out on turn 1, follow up with a mech, and smash them for 3. Dragonling Mechanics too slow, Fireball's too slow, and Wolf Rider is too slow. In the early game, you want minions that are sticky and tough, not charge minions like this. So all 3 of these are passes, and we'll stick with the Cogmaster because he's pretty ideal. It's probably the second best card you can get in the mulligan beyond Mech Warper. Okay, so we're going to actually do this. Since we do have a turn 2 mech guaranteed, I'm not so worried about the coin right now. We can drop both Cogmasters. Even if he clears one, we still get to use the second one with our Snow Chugger. If he doesn't clear either, we hit for 6 damage, which is insane. Okay, so that could have been fun. I'm gonna play this Mech Warper. Mech Warpers are valuable, but I'm gonna play this Mech Warper because he's gonna know it's dangerous, which means he's gonna throw his Mad Scientist into it and probably ping it if he doesn't have a Frostbolt. Which means we can possibly get him to waste his turn 3 spending 2 mana on a hero power, which is a huge tempo loss. Just because he's scared of what this minion can do, even though we really don't have many ways to take advantage of it. Like, we don't have a 4-drop we can sneak out. So, based on what we just saw, I think this is Freeze Mage. He played a secret first to guarantee that he'd sneak out the other one out of his deck. We don't have a total indication yet, but there's a good chance this is Freeze Mage, which we can do okay against. Oh, not Freeze Mage. Okay, I actually should have played that differently. I should have dropped my minion first and then ran my Cogmaster into that Snow Chugger, but we have a lot of damage in our hand and still a sticky board, so I still feel okay about where we're at. Oh, Tempo Mage, okay. That's annoying. Thankfully, you didn't get any good trades out there. That's either a counterspell or a... It's not an effigy. Must be a counterspell. So, if he has some spells here, we could be in trouble. That Flame Waker can do a lot of work. That's a low tempo play, I'm happy about that. There's only so much he can do. It's gonna freeze my... Freeze and ping my... Oh, that is a totally useless card for me. That's not good. Okay, this is actually... The fact that this Ancient Watcher came out means I can actually leave this Flame Waker alive, because this is a body that's going to soak up some Flame Waker hits from time to time. I'm going to play on curve here. And I'm actually going to ping face, because we have damage. This having 3 health versus 4 health, I don't see a huge difference right away. Could have played the Water Elemental, but then I float a mana, and this is the same amount of damage on board. So I didn't see a huge advantage there. I can play the 4 mana card and ping next turn as well. And see, he is at a tempo deficit here, pretty big time. So now we have 9 damage, 12 damage in hand. Or, I mean, available. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be very hard for him to kill this minion without something like Fireball. And we should be able to race him down from this point with 9 damage in hand. So I take it back a little bit. Oh man, 4 big misses from the Flamewakers. Let me eat that. Okay, so that was a counterspell. Good to know. As long as we live through this turn, and he doesn't have a heal, we have lethal in hand. 10 damage next turn, 8 mana. You could have lethal though, I mean, a couple fireballs is 12, 16, 18, 20, with a couple good Flamewaker hits. Did I literally just call what's gonna happen? I think he doesn't have it because the Flamewaker hits right now. He has 12 left. Oh. Okay, so we win. Oh man. So yet again, this is another opportunity that this deck just showed how valuable late game damage is. It's going to be tough for you to keep up all game if you don't win right away, but you can usually sneak out wins. That's why you have to value the face. You'll notice I left that Flamewaker alive from turn 3 to turn 9, I think. Which a lot of people would have said is a crazy decision. But when I saw we had all those spells in hand, and the potential to draw even more, which we did with that Frostbolt, sometimes you have to weigh your alternatives and say, face has extra value. And by the way, the 2 instances I chose to ping face instead of a minion made a huge difference. So don't be scared to look for a point or 2 of extra damage here and there. So, okay. Once again, we like our 1-drops. We like to guarantee having a 2-drop, even if it's not a Mech Warper. Snow Chugger is awfully good. Both these 4-drops are way too slow. We don't want to see these. So we'll toss those back. And this is an ideal hand here. We can do a lot of different things with this, depending on what we see from the opponent and what we like. If you're just joining the stream, I'm playing a TGT Budget Mech Mage, as I like to call it. This is a deck guide I wrote not too long ago, and I've had a lot of requests to play it. So you'll see some unusual cards, but that's because this deck was built on a limit of 600 Arcane Dust. So, some cheap stuff in here. I think I'm just going to play our 1-drop here instead of coining out a 2. That gives us some flexibility. We can play the Tinkertown next turn if he doesn't clear this Gnome. We can maybe coin out a Piloted Shredder a turn earlier or later. We just have a lot of curve options if we stick to curve here. That coin gives us so much flexibility with what's in hand, so there's no reason to coin out the Snow Chugger. It's not a weapon class that might give us an advantage, so freezing something is not going to matter. Is this another Tempo Mage?
I'll show them. I'll show them all.
Okay, it looks like we probably do have another Tempo Mage. I'm going to go ahead and play the Snow Chugger. Thought about coining out the Tinkertown, but I don't actually have another 3-mana play to follow that up, so I might leave myself with a floating mana on turn 3, which I don't want to see. It's unlikely he's going to kill this Snow Chugger. If this is Tempo Mage, that is probably going to spawn a Mirror Entity, which means I could give him a 4/4 if I wait to play Tinkertown next time, or a 2/3 if I wait to play.
What to do?
I play Snow Chugger now. I'm going to play Tinkertown now. There's the opportunity we draw into another 3-drop. It's to keep us on curve. We have some spare parts if we need to for next turn, and if that's a mirror entity, we can throw him something a little worse with a 2-drop. So I think this play gives us the utmost in flexibility. Oh my goodness, he's pinging on turn 3. That is a dream come true for us. So I think that's mirror entity. Yep, indeed it is. We are going to reversing switch this guy because we have a mana. Reversing switch isn't that great. And now that we trade, this cannot be pinged down by him. It had 3 health before, so when we killed it, it had 1 health, could have been pinged. This way it preserves it from a ping without hampering its attack too much. We lose one damage, and in that case the 1 damage didn't matter anyway. So now we just get to play on curve with our Piloted Shredder. We like Piloted Shredder here over Draggingly Mechanic, by the way, because Mechanic is really the worst card in the deck, and the first you should upgrade anyway. But also it only has 2 attack and 4 health, so a Shredder can trade into it and kill 1/2 of it pretty easily while still maintaining the first half of the Shredder. And the 2/1 can always be pinged off as well, so it's a little bit more susceptible here than is the Piloted Shredder. If he trades here, he has to go 1 for 1. And then we let fate decide who gets the better second half. The Mechanic is better after a board clear, or if we need a mech in a pinch. Okay, so I think I'd rather have mine. His hurts both of us anyway, so both are bad though. Okay, so we can actually do this. This is going to kill off the Tinker Town. We can do this, see what he gets. Okay, so that's pretty bad. That is going to make this a favorable play. And the armor plating on the Armor Smith keeps it alive against this. And it's going to make one of these better. And this does not trade well into any 3 of these, so we have a decent board stay here. 3/4 is pretty good to have there. This Armor Smith's going to cause him trouble. It's going to be awkward for him for a while. If he doesn't deal with it, he's going to hate to use resources on it. But if I get a couple extra points of value out of it, I'll be super happy. Okay, we need some good misses here. Alright. Okay, Mirror Image sure is tough for this deck to deal with, I'll say that. Ugh, that's a bad miss. I don't have a good way to kill those taunts. Okay, so here we just need things that do okay against that guy. 6 health is nice. Snow Chuggers are fine. We're not even able to clear off both of these, but that's okay. This guy's gonna get another buff out of him, so he's giving us some pretty strong value. Oh, that's great because that trades well there. If he has a Flame Strike, we are donezo. It's not too bad. 4 for 4. That was good. Pings. Wish one of those would hit our face. Does not have a great trade here yet. Oh, he does. Tempo Mage is a dangerous deck. Oh, hey, Super Thingy-ma-bob. Let me fix that, dude. I didn't catch that. I don't know what Hearthstone is either. Thanks for the heads up. Okay, so to be frank, we're in a little bit of trouble here. We do have card advantage over Tempo Mage, which is pretty nice. But he has stronger minions, and we don't have board control, which we need as a Mech Mage. And he's got super high health total, so We're not going to sneak out any wins with late game damage. Yeah, super thingy-mabob, that change should have taken. You might have to refresh the stream or something, but I did fix it, so thanks for that heads up. If you're just joining us for playing a budget Mech Mage, had some requests to show this deck off in action. It's a little bit of a challenge, but we're actually 2-0 so far in casual. Against a priest and a kind of a control priest and a tempo mage. Right now we are not looking good though. We do not have the cards, the face damage, or the board that we need to win.
What to do? What to do?
At this point I think he should really just run face. He's going to win the race.
Time runs out on me.
But he probably knows I don't have a board clear, so maybe he's willing to take the risk. So he has 5, 10, 12 damage on board. I'm at 16. I'm probably dead if I don't clear here at least a little. Try my best anyway. Any spell in hand basically wins in the game. So I'm going to run that spider tank into the scary mana worm. And load up the board as best I can. This is some good stuff to absorb Flamewaker hits, but again, I don't think we're in a good spot here. The Vaporize we got off the Spell Slayer is pretty worthless, by the way. I mean, best case scenario, we're killing a 3-mana minion. Oh, goodness. Alright, that was our death knell. What do we hope for here? We hope we get a Doomsayer. Won't even help. It's a great minion to get, but unfortunately the game is all but over. So when I'm forced to clear like this, you know you're in trouble. Vaporize is almost useless against this board. It's all 1-mana minions. So we're out of resources, we're out of damage, we're out of board, and we're gonna lose. But I refuse to concede, so gonna have to endure a little bit more. Interestingly, he's still clearing a little bit. It's alright. Boombots weren't too bad. I love wasting a Vaporize on a 1-mana minion. Oh my goodness, what an unstable portal. Unfortunately, stay alive, we have to do that. The best play in the history of Hearthstone. So he needs 1 damage to kill me here. We're praying for a disconnect. I think ADCs are only out. Alright, so we squeeze out a turn or two. That's the game. So in that game we kind of saw what happens when you aren't able to get out early and ahead and push them down, you know, 10 or 15 health, so that that last Reckless Rocketeer and Fireball I had and Frostbolt could have pushed him for lethal. That's how we won our last 2 games. Fortunately, those mirror image taunts slowed us down so much, and the value from the Flamewakers cleared our board so easily that we got totally just swamped. Which, that's what happens. Tempo Mage is a top tier deck. This is a budget deck for beginners with a ton of free cards. It's not crazy to lose, so don't fret if you're seeing the same kind of things. And it should be noted too that I'm playing higher tier players even in casual mode. It's still based on your matchmaking, so we're gonna see some good decks and some losses. No worries. So this hand is all terrible. These cards are all too slow. We have to get a 1 or a 2 drop or we're in trouble, so we're tossing this all back. Oh, super thingy ma job, thingy ma bob. Thanks for the kind words, man. It's good to hear. Yeah, this deck can take you really, really far with just, you know, basically 5 or 6 replacements. What rank are you right now, man?
Powering up. Portals online.
So we're taking a gamble here. There's a good chance he has Fiery War Axe and this is dead. But we didn't need it anyway. There was no advantageous curve happening unless we ran into something and we didn't. So this is not ideal. Having Fiery War Axe, that makes it pretty tough for us. We don't have a 3-drop really either. This is a 3-drop, but not the kind we want. So this isn't the best start, but we're working with what we got. Oh, Dragon Warrior. That's even worse than I expected. Yikes. Okay. There's no advantage to playing Tinker down here. It's not going to be buffed. It's just as easily killed as Wolf Rider is by this minion, so we'll go ahead and run this into the face, chip away at that health as much as we can, because it's going to be tough to burn him down. Okay, rank 15 or 16. Yeah, that's a pretty good start, man. I don't know how new you are to the game, but I mean, I've been playing a year and a half. I know when I started, I really had trouble cracking 17 or 18 until I started putting some cards together, so that's a really, really good start, especially at this point in the season, right? We're only halfway through the season, so you still got a long time to climb. There's no telling what you'll be able to do. Okay, so here we're actually going to play our Dragon Lean mechanic over our Piloted Shredder. This Piloted Shredder has 3 health. He has a 3 health weapon, or 3 attack weapon, and a 3 attack minion, which means they can both kill it. These both have 2 attack, which means this is going to die no matter which minion it trades into. And it can't kill the 2/4 minion. So this is one of those rare instances where Dragon Lean mechanic actually lines up against the board better. He'll feel bad running it into the 2/1, but it really doesn't matter which one he kills with which. It's an even trade on the board. It still does put us a little behind, but he's going to go face. Yeah, that's the right play. So now what we risk is exposing this 2/4 to the 1/3 Acolyte of Pain, giving him 2 card draws, but unfortunately, it's just something we're going to have to do. Regarding the rest of the turn, we had 5 mana. The Clockwork Knight was a good 5 mana play, but we would have wasted the Battle Cry. We don't want to float a mana using the Piloted Shredder, because we just had an extra mana sitting. The 2 cards here synergize well, because we get the spare part and the buff. Fits our mana curve. The Snow Chugger has some value against warriors and weapons. There's already a 2 attack minion on the board, so we're not risking exposure to the Acolyte of Pain, making this the best play. Yeah, rank 20 the dream. That's funny. I think I've been experimenting with some decks lately. I think I'm headed back to rank 20. I was up to like 7 or 6, I think. I don't know. But I started losing some, so I'm back to 10 right now. I was getting quite frustrated last night. I'm thinking about taking this Budget Mech Mage into rank, see how it does in the higher ranks. I honestly think it'd win a few games. I don't think it'd win a lot. But the refined version of Mech Mage was played to the very top of Legend not too long ago. Oh my goodness, what are we seeing here? Okay, what do we have? Armorsmith into Acolyte Trade into Dragon Warrior. Alex draws his champion. He saved his weapon charge. This guy is at 1. Okay. So, first things first, we want to get rid of this Armor Smith. It's too risky to leave it alive. And this is just a really easy trade. It really hurts me that we're not hitting face. But we can't afford to give up the board still at this point. Up next, I think we have to ping one of these 2 minions. This one is not really doing much right now because it's still going to be frozen for another full turn. So we can kind of leave it to sit. Honestly, the Acolyte's not hurting us either, particularly. And I think we want to force him to make decisions after running this into one of these minions if he's going to kill it. It's going to be tough for him to get more than 1 card draw out of this. He doesn't have any buffs. So it's okay to leave that, I think. Basically, you don't want to give him the card draw early, is what I mean by that, because then he... Oh, that's a nice result. Millhouse, way to go, dude. You don't want to give him the card draw early from Acolyte, because then he makes decisions based on the card he's seeing. If you make him kill it before he makes decisions, he either has to waste the Acolyte or leave it alive and not get the card draw at all, so he reduces his resources for the turn. So that worked out really, really nicely for us. Okay, so we're at a state in this game where we have to start making some decisions. Essentially, he's still at 28 health. He has way better late game than we do because he's a Dragon Warrior. So he's running stuff like maybe Chromagus or Alex Draws or Ysera. So there's going to come a point very soon where the cards in our deck are not going to go toe-to-toe with the cards left in his deck. We don't have card advantage because we have one of these spare parts. So really just 4 cards to 4 cards. We don't have a board advantage. So normally I'd love to send this into here and kill this guy. But I think we have to force him to make trades and just push for damage. It's really not fun to be in this position. But I don't see a route to victory. Now something like a brawl here will absolutely destroy us, but Control Warriors is a tough matchup for Mage in general. It's particularly tough for mages that rely on damage. I'm going face more often than not. Jaden, it's my cousin's name. I upgraded your Budget Mech Mage, and I've been using it ever since. I got to rank 12 with it. Oh, nice, dude. That's great news that you can hit rank 12 with just a few upgrades on a pretty cheap deck. I really like to hear that. That's the whole goal in these videos and these cheaper decks. It makes me sad that a lot of streamers and players don't cater to newer people. They're just trying to build the top tier decks all the time. I like doing that stuff too, but not everybody has the legendaries that are necessary. And they forget that not everybody's trying to get legends. Some people are just trying to get rank 10, right? Or rank 5 for the better chests at the end of the season. Just natural progression. So I do appreciate that. So there's no time to save cards here. We're just gonna dump the board. We played the Mech Warper first to absorb the buff here. We're just dropping the Cogmaster. I am stealthing the Clockwork because that's just such an easy trade for him, and that 5 attack and a 5 there, so it's a little more awkward over here, and we preserve a higher value and higher attack minion. And we're out of cards, so we have a taunt to deal with. So we gotta do 21 damage with basically what's on the board. So that's convenient there. We can ping. Shield slamming the Cogmaster. Okay. Cool. Well, that's actually a fortuitous draw because it allows us to save our 5/5. What was going to happen otherwise is we had to choose what to ping. We were going to run that in. It was going to have 1 health, and this was going to have 1 health, meaning we had to ping off the 5/1. And this minion lived and got an even 1-for-1 trade. So that fireball allowed us to kill the 6 health minion and swing for 5. So really from here, there's almost no chance we win. This game is 99% over. Maybe if we draw Reckless Rocketeer into Reckless Rocketeer, even then we got 20 damage to get through, so. Okay, so I'm actually going to make an interesting play here. I got the Time Rewinder the first time, which doesn't have much value, but a freeze or a stealth does have value. So I wanted to run it again to see if I got a freeze or a stealth, and I had the mana to do it, so there's really no disadvantage to Time Rewinding that and getting another spare part. I didn't get the freeze or the stealth. If I got in the freeze, I could have frozen Chromagus to save one of these minions. Same thing with stealth, I would have kept this alive. The Whirling Blades doesn't do much. I could have saved it for the next turn, a charge minion possibly, but he's got to clear this anyway, probably with the Death Spite, so might be able to make it happen a little quicker. And it makes this trade a little more difficult, but not really. Yep, there's the Death Spite. So I got the damage off that Whirling Blade anyway. So now he's at 11. We just don't have the card draw to win from here. This is the scenario we need to win the game, but he can go up to 7. So Fireball off the top is our only win condition right now. This game's closer than it should be, to tell you the truth. It's pretty amazing. He can't clear that with his weapon, at least not safely. He's going to have to trash one of those minions into it. Am I crazy? How did he get 3 Twilight Guardians? Oh, Chromagus, duh. Chromagus effect. So Fireball wins us the game? That is not Fireball, dude. And now Fireball doesn't win us the game because his armor outpaces our hero powers. The game's over. We got a 1 in 15 there to win the game. And now that 1 in 15's gone. Oh yeah, that sealed the deal. You just get 6 armor in 1 turn using just a card, True Heart. She refreshes your hero power, so you can actually use it twice. Let's go ahead and make it easy for him. Yep, so Warriors are a tough matchup, especially when they get the Fiery Wind Axe turn 2 there and take care of your first 2 minions. I don't think we could have played that any smoother, just that's a tough matchup for this deck. And pretty well refined deck too. With Dragon Control Warrior. Okay, so I'm actually going to play one more, and then we're going to take a break on the TGT Budget Mage. I think we've seen a few different examples of how to win and how to lose, and how to mulligan, so I don't think we need too much more explanation here to understand this thing. So, Jaden and the super thingy-mabob, how do you guys see yourself losing when you lose as this Mech Mage deck is running out of steam because it doesn't have card draw? If you'll notice, we end every game with 0 cards in hand and just squeak out the wins. I think that's the biggest weakness. Without like Azure Drake in there to refill your hand and give you a solid body in the mid-game, it's tough. So mulligan there, we just got rid of our slow cards. This is an ideal hand. We can do a lot of different things. We can turn 1 Cogmaster, and then turn 2 Mech Warper and Clockwork. We also have the coin, so depending on what our next draw is, and what he plays on turn 1 or doesn't play, that's going to affect our strategy here. But we have everything that we need, even a good turn 3. I hope he doesn't have a turn 1, but he was motioning to some card there. So, I don't know what that could be. So we're actually going to do what we've done before, which is double Cogmaster. This is really tough for him to answer, and we can even load up 2 more minions next turn using the Mech Warper buff, so... Yeah, usually when they're late game overpowers mine. Yeah, that's pretty much what we've seen tonight too, Jaden. It's one of the things that having that Dr. Boom or that Archmage Antonidas helps you prevent just that bomb you get to drop, essentially, in the late game to keep up and finish them off. This deck really lacks that. We tried to squeeze in a few things, just to do extra damage to finish them off, like Nightblade and Reckless Rocketeer. But those aren't really game-changing drops. Yeah, I don't have many taunts. Well, yeah, I would encourage you to not overvalue taunts too much in a deck like this. You really want to have the pressure going onto them so that they're forced to make the trades. And minions kind of have taunt by proxy. Okay, so we win that game just because he got overwhelmed there. We had a great curve. He didn't have the answers. He made a low tempo play with that Flame Tongue and didn't have the board to sustain. So we'll squeeze out one more game. That one went so fast. Anyway, back to the taunts. Some minions have taunt just because they're, like a 5-2 in this deck's going to have taunt. They have to kill it. They can't go for your face. So if you're able to put out pressure early and rush them down to the point where they're fighting for their life, they pretty much have to clear your board. So we shouldn't worry too much about taunts. The Super Thingamabob. Generally, I just run out of cards, and not much happens late game without Antonidas or Dr. Boom. Yeah, that's pretty much what's to be expected. That's kind of the natural growing process in Hearthstone, right? You start out with a suboptimal deck, and then you play your way into the really good cards and refine it and just continue to make it better and better and more powerful. I remember when I was new, I would be playing people, rank 16, 17 or whatever, and they'd suddenly drop a Ragnaros. And I'd be like, why does the guy who have Ragnaros playing me? Ragnaros used to be a little better back in the day, but I would always get frustrated they had those legendaries, and then now I'm the guy with the legendaries, and I still get frustrated when I lose. So here, between our 1-mana cards, we have two options here. Cogmaster we're going to play because Hero Power for Druid, if he decides to coin it out, can clear our Clockwork Gnome for free without penalizing him too much. The Cogmaster is a little tougher for him. He could use a Wrath. And this benefits from being on the board earlier because you can buff it after the fact. If you drop it when you already have a mech on board, then it takes another turn to guarantee it, and it gives them a chance to clear. This is an interesting bug. I've never seen this before. I don't think that seems to be going away. So here, it's a pretty easy play. Just play on curve with this no chugger. Get the buff. This can lock down his hero power. He's probably going to play a Darnassus Aspirant this turn, which will immediately clear off with our Cogmaster because it's too valuable to keep alive. Okay, so he's going to get swarmed soon. He saw it coming. That's twice in a row where this deck is at its best, when they just don't have an early game play or a clear, and you just swarm the board with 4 dudes, and you have them down at 20 before they can even blink. And early concession, that's always fun to see. So I'm going to play one more. We had 2 almost instant concessions. I feel bad promising one more really good game. So I think the key with early game decks like this is really knowing your mulligan, who you're playing against and what cards they're likely to have, and being really, really greedy with your mulligan. So for instance here, you could say, oh, I'm going to keep the Frostbolt. I want to be sure I have a 2-drop, an early game card to play. But we don't want to be answering the board in the early game. We want to be loading up the board in the early game. So I'm making a greedy play. I expose myself to some risk if I had, for instance, gotten a 4 or 5 and a 6-mana card. But luckily, we drew into the 2-drops, which is likely to happen because we have so much early game. So you got to be greedy. Okay, so there's a chance he Dark Bombs this, which would be sad. But if he doesn't, we have a really strong play next turn. We can either Piloted Shredder or play both of these at once, which would be huge in either case. So it's worth the risk here to expose our Mech Warper. He's going to play an Imp, yeah, okay. So here we could play the Piloted Shredder. You say, oh, it has 4 attack. It'll trade into the Imp Gang boss pretty well. That's true, but we already have a 2-mana minion on board, so he can run it in and spawn imps anyway. So in that case, there's really no penalty to play the Spider Tank and the Snow Chugger. Also, if he wants to Hellfire, he can't do it until turn 4 because he already coined. And he'll have a board of minions anyway, so he's not going to want to Hellfire. And we get to fully utilize the Mech Warper buff here. It does leave our next turn possibly a little awkward, but we have Piloted Shredder no matter what, so we should be fine. Jade, I won 4 in a row because my opponents conceded thanks to my early game. Yeah, man, that's fantastic. That's what we just had 2, right? And those count. Nobody's saying that's against the rules. Those count. That's a legitimate win. If they play greedy and want to have all these amazing cards, we're the people keeping them in check. Okay, big game hunter. That is a terrible tempo play. Alright, so we have to think about how to go about this here. I really don't know what kind of deck this is. It's probably a demon lock. Because he's got demons. It's not Zoo because he wouldn't have big game hunter. Traditional handlock doesn't have Imp Gang Boss. I want to say demon lock. He could have a Hellfire next turn. But Hellfire is penalized if I leave his board up. These things don't make great trades with either of these minions. I think we're in an instance where I clear only the big game hunter because it makes too many good trades against these 3 health minions. And I ping off. I'm actually going to play the Snow Chugger here. I'm not that worried about these guys. I'm only punished by Hellfire, and that still clears his board, so it's really not even that big of a loss. And face damage you can't be undervalued in this deck, so we can do stuff next turn no matter what. I mean, Hellfire here cost me 3 damage, basically. Okay, so so I could play the Nightblade, but I like having Nightblade as that surprise, unavoidable 3 damage. And I want to be able to ping this turn just to tidy up his board, and the Piloted Shredder is still pretty good.
What to do? What to do?
And I want to be able to go face, so I could have played the Nightblade. It would have traded better into the Void Caller, because the Void Caller goes 1-for-1 with the first half of Piloted Shredder. But he could have used an Imp anyway, and I didn't want to have to kill all the Imps. I wanted to be able to go face. So he's going to Shadow Flame that. It's not too bad, potentially. It's kind of bad. He should have... I don't know why he attacked face first with this. He could have had a pretty good trade here. So here, this is a pretty easy play. We just ping. He didn't get a Mal'Ganis out, which is nice. That's going to give us some trouble. I'm not too scared of Doom Guards or Jiraxxus. Maybe Jiraxxus if he taunts it, but Dark Bomb, no Iron Beak, that's a good play. Oh, both. Okay. It seems to me he's getting a little worried about his health, right?
Shields up.
He's gonna trade here. No, he's not.
They'll never know what.
So the reason I didn't ping the owl there, in case you're wondering, is because I didn't have anything to do with my owl. Could have ran it into this, but wouldn't have changed anything here with this trade. If I just left it there and not attacked, he had a free trade with the Sun Fury Protector. So I didn't see a real advantage. And I got 1 extra damage from that ping, so... Okay, 9, 10, 11.
This one's mine.
Let's see what he gets here. I'm guessing nothing. Yeah, okay. Alright, so here we're going to play the Clockwork even though it doesn't have anything to buff. We're going to play the Tinkertown to get its buff and spare part. We didn't need to play the Nightblade this turn because it can still do the damage next turn. Even if we draw Fireball to go with it, we still have 9 mana to cast both, so we can do 9 damage like that. And this gives us the biggest possible board. Because we get a 5/5 instead of a 4/4, and we get a buffed 4/4 instead of a 3/3. The only risk now is that we're dead. Because he has quite a bit of damage. He's probably going to trade here. It's bad for us. But we're still alive. Oh, that's tough too. Oh, that's especially tough with this guy. Wow.
They'll never know what.
Okay, so explain that play a little bit. We had to play the Nightblade because it's our big body. I wanted to play it before pinging the Boombot because I wanted to reduce the risk that I take a ton of face damage. I don't really care too much if the Nightblade dies. I hope it stays alive to trade here, but I assume these two are going to kill it anyway. I freeze the Dr. Boom just to keep me alive because he has 11 damage on board. And I didn't play the Reckless Rocketeer because I couldn't do anything with it. I had to run it into that taunt, best case scenario. That's not worth anything, so. Here a Fireball wins me the game. A Frostbolt doesn't. Actually, Fireball doesn't either. Oh, it might now. Even Frostbolt wins me the game now. Unless he has a way to kill this still. Shadow Flame or something. Oh, is that, no, I'm one mana off. No, I got it. Nope, I gotta learn the math. So thankfully this guy can kill this guy. I thought I had to run the 4/4 in. And then we have 9 damage. Exact lethal, 1 extra mana. Cool. Some different decisions there would have lost us that game. So you can see why thinking turns through and really paying attention to 1 damage here and there. For instance, if I had pinged that owl instead of pinging face, would have lost the game. Stuff like that does add up over time. So that's going to be it for the TGT Budget Mage demonstration. I believe we went 5-2. I think we went 5-2. I'll have to double check. But 5 wins and 2 losses. It's pretty fantastic for a deck that cheap. And we weren't playing scrub decks either. We played legitimate Tempo Mage, Control Priest, Dragon Warrior, a Demon Lock there. So you can really see the power of this deck even at its extremely affordable cost. So I'm going to pause the stream for a while now. I really do appreciate you guys watching and taking some time to comment. Always check out all my other videos. I appreciate any likes or subscribes that you're willing to toss my way. I do some writing as well, so feel free to check out tempostorm.com for some Heroes of the Storm articles or 2p.com for a bunch of Hearthstone stuff I've written over the last year and a half. So really appreciate anything you got as far as views are concerned. Thanks again, and until next time, game on.